Ah, guys, the 60s, eh? Great cars, great television, great everything in the 60s. It really was. Oh, God, I remember it as a kid. Being born in 63, the same year as this car. Let's keep going, guys. Yeah, it's really, really, really starting to look like something now, so let's hook right in.
Cleaning, cleaning and cleaning. They're the tie rod adjusting screws, whatever you want to call them, tube screws. Powder coated and just wire wheeled, the bloody nuts and bolts and all of that. So they come up all right. The powder coating comes up good if you get it all just right. Yeah. Well, after a long wait, guys, for one reason or another, we finally got our control arm bushings in. So as you can see there, so we sit the control arm in just loosely. We just start the nuts on the inside here, as you can see. Just start them because there's a couple of things we've got to do. So put them in. Now, because I'm not using the standard spring, I'm using a lowered spring. Believe it or not, I got that spring in without the compressor, which makes life bloody easy. So that was a bonus. We've got to put the shocker in, of course, and then that retains that whole assembly. We've got brand new shocks. Where are we? Here we go. With new rubbers and all that sort of stuff. So that's all right. Oh, we got all our new tie rod ends. And as you can see, one's already on, but nothing is adjusted and nothing is tight at this point. So that's all good. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is put our shocker in, and then that'll hold that whole assembly together. Then we're going to try and get some shims in behind the control arm. They have shims, which are these ones, to adjust your camber and caster. In other words, camber is, I don't know if you can see that, whether the wheel lays that way or that way, that's negative. If the wheel's leaning in, say that way, that is negative camber. And if it leans out way, that's positive camber. They have run a little bit of negative camber that way when, if my understanding is correct, as say if you're doing a left-hand turn, the car body will tend to roll this way. So that will tend to square up the wheel and keep the tread sitting flat on the road. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. And same on the other side. And caster is, of course, caster's like your caster wheels on a shopping trolley. That changes your offset of your kingpin. So what caster will do, and I can't remember if it's positive or negative or which way, caster gets confusing. What caster does is it helps you centralise your steering wheel. When you go around a corner and let the wheel go, the car will go back to straight. That's the effect of caster. So if you didn't have caster, the bloody thing would keep turning, I suppose, or want to go, yeah, do whatever it does. But and towing, of course, adjust your wheels that way. And that's adjusted via those tie rod turnbuckle things. Anyway, that's all, yeah, that's alignment stuff. We're going to put our shocker in now, and then that'll hold that whole assembly together. Make sure your tail end of your spring is touching that little dog leg there, just so it doesn't sort of rotate on itself. Once we get the shock in, I'll push that all up, and then I can put the top ball joint in, the control arm. But yeah, we're going to try and, we'll get the shock in, and then we'll get just some shims in the back there just to get the alignment process started. There's no science in it. I'm just putting in 2 sets of shims the same, and the rest will be spares, so when it goes for its alignment, they've got something to work with. It could be pretty close from the factory. It could be bloody miles out. Yeah, so we were lucky, as I say, real lucky with that spring. Well, let's driver's side suspension in, guys. Feels quite firm in the steering and all of that. I just set the steering wheel on loose, but these Falcons are very traditionally light on the steering, but it feels beautiful through the wheel. It's firm down here, but that will quickly loosen up on the road. Greased everything. Everything's tight with castellated nuts and split pins. It's got to be wheel aligned, of course. As I say, I've just put basic shims in the control arm, as I told you. Shocker's tight, greased, but yeah, got to have a wheel alignment. It could be very close. It could be bloody miles out. We just got to wait and see. So what we're going to do now is come around the passenger side and do the same bloody thing again. And hopefully it'll go back together as easy. The driver's side, it absolutely fell in, which makes me think either I've done it absolutely spot on or I've bloody well missed something. I don't know. It's one or the other. We're going to find out. But yeah, short of brake assemblies, that's the suspension done on that side. It's really come up bloody good. Quite happy with all of that. And passenger side's done. Still waiting on the idler arm for there, but I can put that end, this end of the tyre rod in. Same thing, spring fell in. Same shims as on the other side. However, you can see this has got a lot less negative camber than the other side. But as I say, it's got to be aligned. But the springs are in, shocks are in. It's all bolted up and tight. Quite firm. But yeah, it's sort of, it all looks fairly straight and true. Come up all right. Yeah, pretty happy with the front end. I mean, compared to what it bloody well was. But yeah, all the springs fell into place nicely. Once again, that'll line it. As the spring goes up and down, that'll go and butt up against that stop. Not too worried about that. New bushings, same thing. Yeah, she come up all right. Should be quite roadworthy and all that. As I say, it's only all standard suspension except the fronts are a bit lower. Probably the same sort of tension in the spring, not the height. Yeah, we're going to move on to... Down underneath there is the pedal assembly. Actually, I've just got me new sway bar bolts. I might clean up the bloody sway bar. There's the sway bar down there. Might even clean that up and bung it on. That's not a lot of work, and it's one more bit of shit up off the ground. Yeah, and that's getting the front end pretty close to done. Going to get started on the pedal box, guys. Pedal assembly, whatever you want to call them. I've ordered 2 new rubbers. They won't pass. Well, that one will pass. That one probably won't. But I want to clean the assembly up, so we'll pull it all apart. No huge big secrets. It looks like the brake, pedal and clutch share a common shaft. By the look of it, I think that's, yeah, it looks like they share a common shaft. We'll back that off. That'll let that spring loosen, and I can take all that off and clean it. There's some adjustments. Oh no, that looks like it's, oh, there's a bit of an adjustment there. There's an adjustment there as well, which looks like clutch pedal height. It's probably all in the book anyway, but yeah, there's 60 years of scunge on it. We'll clean it all up and make it look nice, and yeah. Approximately 5 minutes work and the whole bloody thing's apart. Yeah, there's no big secrets in it. You've got the nylon bushings. That one goes on the clutch pedal for the activating rod. I'll probably see if I can turn something up. The main body is in the parts cleaner. Oh yeah, it's Formula 1 weekend in Melbourne. So yeah, it's Saturday, just watching a bit of the qualifying. So anyway, we'll clean it all up, and as I say, I've got new pedal rubbers coming. I'll show you the finished assembly. Pedal assembly's all cleaned up, guys. Yeah, sandblasted, powder coated, so on and so on and so on. Just wire wheeled the spring. That's the hook for the other end. Yeah, as I say, got to get new pedal rubbers. Just been stuffing with the sway bar. Put new bolts and bushings in it. It's the original sway bar. Just give it a quick coat of yellow. It's not the same bloody yellow as the springs, but look, 10 minutes down a dirt road, you're never going to bloody know anyway, are you? And there we have it. Pedal assembly's done. Cleaned up, powder coated, sandblasted, greased, whatever. Yeah, just waiting on the rubbers, as you know. I just put a new bit of rubber. That's actually the height pedal adjustment for the clutch. I just put a new bit of rubber there. That's where the pedal actually comes to rest. Yeah, because the old bit was gone, so I just cut up a flat piece of rubber, put it there and glued it on, and it seems to be all right. But yeah, it's pretty much as you see it. That also doubles as the steering column mount, as you know. Yeah, that's about it. The pedal assembly's done. Yeah, we'll move on. Going to start work on the handbrake assembly. The cable was so solid. Now that it's disconnected, the mechanism works. A few things to watch. I've dealt with these before. That little ratchet spring in there, just watch it. That's got a habit of flying across the workshop, never to be found again. I can get a reproduction handle, but that looks all right at this point. Yeah, the little wheel looks all right. Yeah, no, we'll clean that. We'll sandblast it, clean it right up, powder coat it, polish up the shaft, and we should be all right there. That doesn't need that much. Yeah, let's hook in. Handbrake assembly all cleaned up. I just sort of wire wheeled and polished the main shaft, sandblasted and powder coated the housing and that. I used white grease in the, as you can sort of see there, on the shafts and the movable bits and that. It's got to have a new cable, of course, so it'll have to come apart just a little bit. But that come up nice. That's ready to go in the car. It sort of almost looks brand new. Always a little bit of fabricating to do, guys. Just finished the handbrake, as you know. I'm just thought I'd start cleaning up this battery tray. As you can see, that's pretty much unserviceable. I wouldn't pass it in a roadworthy. So what I've done is I've come up with that. Now, you're going to say, Mick, why the bloody holes? Well, as you look here, there's a step down to where it's bolted. Now, I want to use the original brackets and bolts. Now, if I just leave it flat like that, obviously the bolts will be protruding so much and the battery will sit on them, and then I've got to put spacers. I thought, right, I'll cut some rounds and I can weld them on the other side like so. And then I can cut some rounds out of this and weld them on that, and then put a hole in the middle. That'll step the bolt down and keep that at the same height. That way I can reuse my original brackets and yeah, just give that a powder coat and that, and that'll be fine. So yeah, I want to try and keep it. I know this is not factory, but I want to try and keep the factory brackets and keep everything as close as I can. So the next guy in 60 years' time has sort of got some of the original parts to work with. Does that make sense? No, that's probably bloody stupid. Anyway, no, I want to try and keep it half factory. Look, I could probably chase one of them up, and half-skilled panel beater could probably make one. This is as far as my thinking takes me, but it'll achieve the same result. This car doesn't require a huge, massive battery. It's just a small battery for these. You're only really doing a starting circuit and the lighting and ignition. There's not much else going on with it. Yeah, so that should be all right. So yeah, I'll cut those out, weld them in there, then I can put that in the lathe and drill a centre hole. That should line up perfectly with all of those other brackets there, other holes there, and away we go. There's our new battery tray, guys. Utilised that the two old brackets that are original. Had to sink them, as you know. I'll powder coat that, and she's done. Also finished off the steering. I got my new idler arm there. That's a needle roller idler arm. So that's all hooked up. So we have steering now. So yeah, we have direction. Gearbox time, guys. As you can see, she's pretty bloody grotty and manky and all of that. What we'll do, we're not going to rebuild it. What we'll do is we'll just put gaskets and seals in it. I've ordered front seal, rear seal. I'll check those seals in there, see if I can get them. I'll cut my own gaskets. I think I can buy a rebuild kit, but that's bearings, synchros, seals, all that shit. $600, $700, $800, I don't know, something like that. I'm prepared to. I'll take the side off, have a look at the gear set. If it appears all right, I'm going to take a chance on it, because they're not hard to do. They're just a little bit fiddly with the counter shaft and the needle rollers in the counter shaft. But no, we'll just pull it apart, clean it up. Got to get a new thrust bearing for it and that, but that's, that'll come with the clutch kit. But yeah, she's got to be cleaned up at some point, so now's the time. Engine cross members back in, guys. Yeah, powder coated the mounts. Yeah, all come up pretty solid. Done that little repair in there, as you know. A little bit of a gap difference there. Not too concerned about it at this point. Might have to just put a little spacer under there just to level the motor. But it's pretty right. Everything else is pretty square. If you look at everything, it's pretty straight and square. Could have been that way from the factory. Yeah, but yeah, so the front end's basically done. Put all these nuts and all that back the right way. Just a bit of anti-seize on them. Yeah, just rattle can black. That is basically, yeah, the whole front end and suspension, everything back together. Gearbox is stripped down, guys. Well, not stripped down, just taking the housings off. I'm just doing seals, so that'll be extension housing seal, front seal, cut new gaskets for the front, top and rear. And hope to Christ it's all right. I've had a good look in at the gear set. Typically first gear and on the cluster shaft are a little bit ground, but that's because there's no synchros on them. Second and third, so that's your third there, second, first, appear to be okay. Haven't seen any surprises in there. Everything else appears to be half service. All the bearings feel all right. I think we're going to leave well enough alone. As I said, I can get a kit. I think it's $300, $400, $500, something like that. Pretty comprehensive kit. When you're cleaning up too, just watch in between these two. Hang on, I'll put on a bit of light here. In between these two shafts is actually a locating pin like that. Can you guys see that? Just watch that, because that drops out real easy like that. Don't lose that, because that actually locks all that in. And when you put the extension housing on, that covers all that so it can't fall out. So just watch that. The rest of that, I mean, this is your basic 3-speed. As I say, the only real pain with these is the cluster shaft, which is the bottom one down in there, that you can sort of make out. If you get the right light, you can make it out. They're on a needle roller bearing. And when you punch that shaft out, that'll drop down, the counter shaft will drop out, and all the needles fall out, and it's a fair income pain. You need to use a dummy shaft to reassemble it all, so that actually you can put a dummy shaft in, but it's a lot shorter. It actually fits in that housing. That'll hold your needle rollers and your thrust washers, and you can assemble it, but it is a pain. That's why I really don't want to get involved with it. We'll clean it up, make it look like it's new, and hope for the best. Mucking around with the old Borg Warner 3-speed. Just put the input shaft cover, whatever you call the bloody thing, on. Put a new seal in it. That's the old seal. Just, you can see it's very well worn and quite flat, so I'm betting anything it would have leaked. So we cut a new gasket for that. New seal in there, bit of sealer on it. We're just about to cut a gasket for the top, and we've got the old one as a template. And I just happen to be looking at the cover, and you can see there, front. So I'm taking that to go that way, because yeah, it does actually say front. If you can see that, you can just make it out across there. So we'll put it that way. The main reason I think that'll be is because of that breather hole right there. It'll be something to do with that. So if it was the other way, there could be a tendency for it to leak a bit, I don't know, but it's got to go that way. I can't see a difference in the gasket other than it's got those two little holes there, and I'm tipping they'll go to the front as well. So that acts as your breather, if you like. So yeah, we'll cut a gasket for that. We've got the other bits just sort of soaking in the bloody diesel bath here. That's the extension housing, bell housing. That shit there, it's just like you're talking about 63 years of shit here. It's coming off, but yeah, geez, it's a prick of a thing to clean. I might end up just wire wheeling that. And same as the housing. I'm not painting any of this. Just clean it right up, put it back, make it as nice as I can. Yes, I've got to cut a gasket for the top and also for the extension housing. That one's a little bit more fiddly. Not hard, just fiddly. And we've got a new seal for the extension housing as well. So that, of course, seals around the top of the tail shaft. Yeah, and once we sort of get that on, that can go in. I mean, that'll sit up in there all right. I might have to... I've done all the cross rear mount, as you know. I should be able to set that up in there and just tie it off with a bit of rope or something just around there temporarily till the motor goes in. But that's one more part off the ground. Extension housing's on and me repaired gearbox mount. We'll bung our new seal in now. I'll just put a bit of sealer around that outside edge, bung that in. Then we'll clean up the bell housing, bolt it up, and really that can be sat up in the car then. Transmission is in, guys. The bit of rope's just holding up the front of the bell housing. I've got the rear mount in. Oh, scratch me paint a little bit. I'll touch it up. Not that it matters that much. Clutch fork, obviously. Needs to be all lined up there on our bell crank somehow, like so. And that'll line up for the clutch, sort of like so. Yeah, we'll do that once it's all bolted up. Yeah, so that's gearbox in. I put the new extension housing seal in. That's tight. Yeah, it looks all right. We're really starting to sort of get there now. Well, guys, I've been waiting weeks, as you know. Finally got the. I wanted rubber bushings, but they were very hard to locate, so I went with the urethane, neoprene, whatever you call the bloody things. Anyway, there we are. So they're all in and done. Yeah, it went in pretty easy. The back anyway. The front, these I think for a later model, that I had to actually physically, well, go over the bench and have a look at one. A couple of things weren't right with the front ones. Like that assemble distance, like so, from there to there was too much. So I had to actually see that curve on that. I had to take that off to get me down to, what are we, 71.9. I also found that the bolt that goes through there was 14 mil, or 14.2, and the size of that is 17.3. So I had to actually turn up a crushable sort of spacer to go in there, but that worked out all right. Nice and tight. So yeah, I had to just, as I say, turn up a little spacer. There's the one that I've just cut off. I'm going to turn up another one now and drill it. There's all the stuff from the plastic that I turned off, but it went in all right. You know, it's quite, it's quite solid and all of that. So a new centre bolts, which is good. So the back end should be quite stable and solid. Yeah, and then I still haven't got bloody U-bolts. They sent him out the wrong ones. So, but anyway, once the other spring's in, we can actually sit the diff up in there, put our backing plates on, axles, all that kind of crap. So we're actually getting a little bit done here. Well, springs are in and diff's in, albeit loosely. I haven't got the U-bolts yet, so I've just used a clamp to hold it in place. Yeah, we'll do a little bit of mucking about in here. I've got to change the pinion seal, got to put the back on. Bloody wasps have already been busy. Look at that little shit. Wherever there's a hole, they're bloody well into it. Anyway, yeah, so we've got new bushings, new shackle bushings, getting new U-bolts. Everything else is cleaned up, ready to go, as you know. I've just ordered a shitload of brake parts, wheel cylinders, linings, shit like that. I'm going to have a look at the drums. If I can machine them, I'll try. Unit, all sorts of crap coming. You can probably see that white thing out there. That's the tail shaft. That's just drying. What's going to happen with that is I'm going to get some red. I'm going to put some masking on it, and I'm going to barber pole it so it'll look like a spiral, sort of like a drill bit. I did it on my last one of these, and I'm going to do it on this. But yeah, so anyway, the rear end's on. Yeah, as I say, just a little bit of mucking around with those bushes, but they went in, not too hard. But yeah, got to do the pinion seal and all of that. But yeah, that diff's finally off the ground. I'm happy about that. As you know, diff's in, guys. Fitted up the axles with new seals and bearings. Come up nice. They seem to roll quite smoothly in that. Yeah, backing plates and all that are good. I've got spring sets and shoes coming. Put the plate back on. When you've got these off, for whatever reason, just check in the bottom. You can get a little bit of a reservoir in the bottom, and there could be bits and pieces of bearing, metal, anything in there. So make sure that's cleaned out before you put your fresh oil in, or else you're just going to put all your dirty shit and bits of metal back through your clean diff and oil. So as I say, this hasn't been rebuilt. It's gear set looks all right. We'll go with it. Same as that side. That's just there to hold the diff. I'm still waiting on U-bolts. Same thing. Rolls quite freely. New bearings. We can put the, goes up in there actually in that hole, the little T-piece and breather tube, because we've got the rubber lines coming that go to there, and then the hard lines have got to be made. I'll do them once I've got the wheel cylinders, but I can put that piece in. Pinion seal's got to be done. Let me get rid of that light, hang on. Sorry, one-handed all of this, as you know. Pinion seal's got to be done. So what we'll do is we'll clean that up in there as best we can. What we'll do is we'll put a centre punch mark on the nut and one on the shaft, and then count how many turns that comes off. We should then be able to pull that out, change the seal, put that back, and then we count how many turns in and then line up the two dots. That in effect should give me the same preload. Yeah, here's hoping, but yeah, I'm almost certain that the bloody seal's going to leak, so we'll replace it. Well, she's all oiled up, guys. Rotating beautifully, feels very smooth. Hopefully the diff's all right. We're going to find out. Took about 2 or 3 litres of oil, whatever it was. I've got to pack that up. Hopefully in the morning when I come out, it won't be all over the ground. Yeah, well, just that plug's a little bit dicky. Remember I told you the thread and that was a bit shitty. I've put a couple of collapsible washers and some thread lock on the, some Teflon on the threads. Hopefully it'll be all right. If not, I'll have to fuck around with it a bit more.
Part 9 done and dusted. Yeah, no, as I said, really coming along. Thank you to the subscribers. Not that I care if you subscribe or not, but thank you for the comments and a few handy little tips coming through in the comments as well. Yeah, probably some similar like-minded people. Be them all crazy, just like myself. Thanks, guys. See you in part 10.